As a first group, I'm the presenter, and we discussed in 2 days about the definition of the needs analysis process, and also we set up some principles before the process. We should build a theoretical framework, and we should discuss on them, and at the end we suggested the needs analysis model for Foci technique, and you will see that it's a nice looking visual model. And
can I go that
And we outline our presentation under 4 titles. First, we discussed we try to reach a common group definition of needs analysis, and we discussed them. And then we discussed the needs analysis and the feedback process. It's a cyclical continuum, and there are some points there. And then for the theoretical framework, I will present you some principles that we should be based on our process. And at the end, we'll see the model. Let's start with the definition then. You see there are 3 points there. And first of all, we discuss on what kind of a process should be. So it should be a focused, a targeted, and a systematic process. And also it should be some cyclical feature, and also it should be an ongoing process, not a static one, but it should be an ongoing continuous process. And also it should include some data, and variety of data should be collected, and they should be analyzed from different sources, from different perspectives. And also in our classrooms we can find some data from the students' text, the events in the classroom only. And to achieve the curriculum aims, achieve the needs analysis, we should set up our development to develop our curriculum. We should meet some learning needs and aims of the learners, and also it should be useful and effective, practical and feasible for learners. Not just for the learners, and also teachers and all the other stakeholders. Okay. And yeah, in the group work, we try to decide whether they are the same things or different things, and we discuss them, and at the end we concluded that it's a cyclical continuum, and in the process there can be structured or unstructured. The feedback process and the needs analysis process. The need analysis process can be structured or unstructured, and also it can be periodically, and also it can be an ongoing process. And at the very beginning, it can be a broad one, but while focusing on some specific issues, we can make it narrowed, and we can collect the data from lots of people, lots of participants, lots of stakeholders, and we can also design it as a small scale one. And as I said in the previous one, it should not be formal. It can be informal in our classrooms. While doing some activities, we can observe the needs of the students, and we can observe the other needs while observing. And yeah, it will be better to be planned, but it can be also spontaneously. It can be conducted. And these are our principles before the model. Yeah, actually we did lots of discussions, you see, right? Then first we made a long list, and then we prioritized them from the first one to the end, you see, and we concluded that it should be a tailored approach. It should be detailed and attentive, and if you look at the last part, our aim was to create a defensible curriculum, and that's why we should put there our benchmarks. And the motivation of the teachers and the motivation of the learners to participate are really important for us. And so we should encourage them. We should motivate them. To participate in the activities. And also we should justify our process. It may come from the literature review, or it may come from where?
We may have the direct need from our students.
Students maybe, the teachers. And we should put there the clear and achievable aims, and they should be realistic. And then we can plan the process. And this process should be within a realistic time frame. And in all the processes, you should see that 3 points: communication, collaboration, movement, and inclusiveness. And during the process, all the stakeholders should communicate with each other, and they should collaborate with the other stakeholders, and the experts should collaborate with the stakeholders. And as you see, all the participants should be included, and also they should be involved in the task. They should take some roles. And that provides us looking into deep with using multiple perspectives. And also we should take our context into consideration, which means in the article we say constraints. We have some constraints, some negative things maybe, the background knowledge, the context, and we should take them into consideration. And also we should know, or we should put there our opportunities. And you know, sometimes students or learners or teachers says they want something to do. So we need to clarify whether they are needs or they are wants. And we should focus on the real needs. That will be more effective. And after determining the needs, we should prioritize them from the most important ones to this one, maybe. And that will show us the difference between the current performances and the future performance that we desire to reach. And at the end, the dissemination process is really important. We should share our findings, we should share our results to the other stakeholders, but we should consider their levels of understanding. And then we can promote our curriculum. And here comes our model. As you see, all the steps reflects the principles, our principles. And there's a timeline, and you can see in all the process, in all the steps, you should evaluate and review the process. And for the first stage, we should clarify the needs. That means to create some needs. We should make them feel that they need something, the teachers or the learners. And also we should define what they are. Okay, so maybe we should go to the literature, or we should take their views, and also the literature review tells us the definition. And then after putting there the needs, we should target, we should focus on the real needs. And then in the second phase, you see, we should prepare ourselves, and a project team should be built, and participants should be decided, and then they should be involved in the process. It's a cyclical process, you see. And the tools maybe we have to prepare, and the design of the process. And another point is the pilot study. Yeah, we should pilot it, because we don't know whether they understand the questions, whether they give the right answers. Okay? And after the reading part, we should pass into the data collection phase. And I think we decided in the last 4 phase is related to the other groups. They will talk them in details. Yeah? And then that is the end of our presentation. It's more.
Now, can you speak to a partner about the presentation and think about the ideas and think of some possible questions that you may have asked the group? Like 3 minutes.
I'm not going because I already know that. Oh, yeah, this is your The planning includes those. It's more the planning and the needs and takes, which includes your we had to have I don't think so. You know, I told you, Martha, right, when I saw this first, I was like, Foci tipping. I was saying, Foci tipping. I've never heard of Foci tipping. I wonder where that university is. Because it was yesterday and I was tired of it. She just... Feedback needs analysis things.
Questions at the end of all three boxes.
But how they work together. I don't have any this week.
Yeah, if you have any questions.
Any questions for model or principles?
Okay, it's very clear. It's okay.
Yeah?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon again. As Group B, we discussed data collection methods and needs analysis. And you may ask the question, what is Group B? Analysis best. Okay, thank you. You can follow the content of my presentation. And first I'm going to talk about the steps involved in data collection. And then we came up with a research question. I'd like to share this question with you as well. Of course, there are some factors affecting choices of data collection procedures. So the first factor is characteristics of the information source. It's all about the stakeholders, of course. Information source is the stakeholders usually, of course. And situational characteristics is also important because whatever works in one institution may not work in yours. So the situation is also important. Type of information needed leads us to the research question. So what would we like to learn about? What would we like to learn about the situation? And how are we going to measure it? And how are we going to achieve a level of accuracy which is the desired one, of course. So for the last one I can say that they go hand in hand, of course, and the level of accuracy is very important in terms of validity and reliability of our study. How are we going to gather data and how valid is this data we have? Of course, there are lots of types of questions to address in this analysis process. Pattern analysis made two lists, so with two lists. I don't want to read all of them, but we can try to learn about the behaviors, opinions, attitudes, abilities, problems, solutions, all kinds of things. And this is all about our research question again. From whom should we collect this data? Here we have three very big groups, and students, maybe the students at preparatory school or students who are doing their major in their faculties. Teachers, maybe the instructors at prep school or instructors at faculties, which is called service English here. And lecturers and professors are also included in this category. Administrators, of course, they're very important in the process because we know that there needs to be a balance between what is needed and what is possible. Whatever we find as an outcome may not be met, and administrators have this information to show that if it is possible or not. And what type of data should we collect? As we know that there are basically two types of course. But when it comes to qualitative data, it's not about statistics or numbers anymore. It's about the ideas behind these numbers, the opinions, the attitudes, and everything we have in written form. And indeed, they should go hand in hand again. So we generally prefer mixed methods together data, because quantitative just shows one side, qualitative shows the other side. And in terms of quantitative and qualitative data, of course, there are some key concerns that we should take into consideration in the process. So the ones in the middle are the research standards that we should try to achieve: consistency, fidelity, verifiability, meaningfulness. And we should keep in mind that it's not possible to achieve all of them, at 100%. But we should try to do our best, of course. And when it comes to data gathering, we always hear this term, triangulation. Because it's a triangle, we don't have the 3 points there. It can be less or more, depending on the research question, again, the sub-questions. But triangulation helps us gather different types of information and use different types of procedures in data collection. Or we can collect data at different times at different places. Different investigators can collect, and we can see their perspectives as well. So it's all about the perspective indeed. We shouldn't be just one-sided, it should be multiple-sided. Triangulation helps us with this. And okay, we are going to collect quantitative data. How? How are we going to collect this data? And we can use questionnaires, exam results, and checklists, which give us some kind of numbers. But here I'd like to say something that sometimes in checklists we can use open-ended questions. So when it's something open-ended, we know that it's not quantitative, it's qualitative. So sometimes these two procedures overlap. And as for qualitative data, we can create focus groups and have the stakeholders discuss about issues. And we can conduct interviews, analyze documents, make observations, etc. Here, this is something I have just learned indeed, participating in research and action and creating pie charts. I think my friends learned it in previous pie sessions. And this is important for our research as well. We used it as well because here we just set our population, sample population, free. They can discuss the issue and they can raise their own questions in terms of the research question, of course. So, I'd like to explain it a little bit more. Pie chart, you know that, and we just give our population the topic, for example, reading skills. So, first they discuss reading skills, the importance of reading skills, soft skills, everything, whatever they can come up with. And they put them in an order of importance, then place them in the pie chart. So whatever is most important to them gets the biggest place, biggest slice indeed. And then we give them some questions, and they discuss the questions as well, and we learn more about the issue. And at the end of the session, they may change their ideas, or the ideas may stay the same. We don't know that. But first, we just don't direct them. They discuss themselves. Then we direct them to focus on the issue. Okay. Then who should collect data? In our situation for Foci, of course, we did that. But in general, curriculum development unit members should collect data to see if the objectives are achieved or not. And curriculum development unit members should work with testing unit members, of course. And professional development unit members should collect data as well, because they need to see the professional development needs of teachers. And student support unit may be something new to you, I don't know, so I'd like to explain it a little bit more. In my institution, we have a student support unit, and this unit organizes extracurricular activities for students. So as CD, we don't do that. And they also send the students to their departments, faculties, to observe lessons. They also invite some lecturers to give lectures. So they function like a bridge between preparatory school and the faculties. So they are very important members of our school. They are very close to the data, so they can collect this data easily as well. So okay, we are going to collect data. Who is going to collect data is definite, but what should we focus on? We can focus on language skills, foreign language skills, as we all know, and we can also focus on academic skills, like debating, discussion, presentation skills, etc. And we can also focus on life skills of students, and especially I think motivation is the one which is usually discussed. And how should this process proceed? First point and the last point are for external evaluators, external, let's say, data collectors, but the ones in the middle are common for both kinds of data collectors. So, if you are an external data collector, you should use inside connections to try to get into the space. If you have a friend there, that is perfect. And of course, you should seek permission from the authorities beforehand to make things very official. And you should try to get to know the participants little by little, gradually, so they can get used to you and you can get used to them and their style. And you shouldn't behave like a boss, because you're a learner as well. You should behave like one of them. And you should try to observe a relatively large number of participants, because every single person may have, of course, different points of view, so you should evaluate these points of view as well. And before conducting real interviews, you should have some informal talks with these people, so they can relax and provide you better information, of course. And as I said before, this is all about triangulation indeed. You should use a variety of information sources and also time, location, etc. We talked about it before. You should try to be creative, flexible, and friendly as well. And I don't know how possible this one is, but if you want to just look kind of friendly and enthusiastic, you should try to volunteer to work in an organization where you gather data. So after just summarizing all these steps, we came up with a research question for Foci to improve the curricular studies. The research question was, how can we improve the English language curriculum to help students in their major? It's a very general question indeed. So we added 2 sub-questions there. What are the students' priorities related to language skills and soft skills in their major? So this part is for students. We are going to gather data from students and using focus group meetings and questionnaires. And what language skills and soft skills do you think your students need in order to be successful in their major? This question is for the instructors and lecturers, and we are going to conduct face-to-face, semi-structured interviews with them. So you will also ask the question, okay, students, but which students are they? For the questionnaire, we are going to try to reach as many students as possible, so it's going to be kind of convenient sampling. We are going to visit them in their classes, lessons, so we're going to give them questionnaires. And for the focus group meetings, we are going to choose 3 students from each faculty randomly to get different kinds of perspectives on the issue. And the lecturers at faculties and English instructors at faculties, of course, are also included in the process. We are going to choose the enthusiastic and cooperative ones to gather data. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your attention.
time for sharing ideas with a partner.
Yours is we did all that stuff too. Presentation. We did too. We didn't discuss that in detail. What is that? Literature? Oh my God. Where is it? That is huge. I just don't have it in my purse. I don't know where it is.
Maybe a question to everybody to consider.
No, I'm not.
You had two research questions, like how to improve the curriculum to help students, and then two questions, one to be asked to the students and then one to be asked to the faculty members. The students normally know the answers because they've been through the process prep program and they kind of raise their awareness in terms of soft skills and strategies and everything. So they easily come up with answers like, oh, I can do the main ideas, but I can't do this. So that we speak the same language, terminology, or what do we call it? Meta language with the students. But when it comes to talking with the faculty members, and I'm not talking about instructors at prep or service teachers as you describe, or undergrad English teachers, but faculty members, lecturers and professors, we don't really speak the same language with them in terms of like understanding, okay, what skills, okay, they know they need to do reading, they can talk about the global skills like reading, listening, speaking, but when it comes to soft skills, there is definitely miscommunication. So if you give them a questionnaire, or when you form the questionnaire or ask the questions, it doesn't make sense to them sometimes. You're like, what do you mean by main ideas? Yes, they should understand the text. Or what do you mean by inferencing? Or what do you mean by reading between the lines? So they're not language teachers, they're not language analysts, or they don't really analyze the text as we do, and they don't really study the way we actually approach the text. So that's a kind of challenge actually while collecting data. So have you discussed this?
But we can overcome this situation by simplifying the language of our questions, putting ourselves in their shoes. And instead of asking, do you want your students to get the main idea, you can ask, after they read the article or text, what do you want them to do? And for what? Why do you want them to do this task? And while doing these tasks, what do you want them to learn from this text? If you leave your questions like that, you can get the answers and compare them with the students.
Yeah, we've done the same thing. We simplified and we made them more practical, but it's just something to keep in mind. That's why I want to point out when we ask general questions, soft skills, we don't really speak the same language, so we need to refer to the outcomes, tasks, and assignments so that it's more meaningful to them, so that then we need to interpret the information that give us, so that requires a lot of interpretation. We've done a similar thing, and so that's why I just wanted to throw up this issue.
I think also when we were discussing this, we thought that interviews were more would be best with faculty members rather than giving them questionnaires, because they wouldn't either spend the time answering the questions, or just the point that you raised earlier, they wouldn't be able, perhaps not be able, but they wouldn't understand, they wouldn't have the same experience. That's why interviews are best.
Just want to mention that. That's why.
And I think that's why we included semi-structured interviews. So whenever we see that the faculty member doesn't understand what we are talking about, we can just direct the questions, play with them, play with words as well. And also it's all about the analyst as well to reach the themes and conclusions to draw from the interview with the faculty members. Correct, I agree with you. Very good point. Any questions?
What should we just gather data from second-year students instead of the other ones?
Because in my institution that's the case, and I think it can apply to other institutions as well. In the first year, students, some departments do not have English medium lessons at all. And students study at prep school, first year, nothing in English, second year the lesson starts. And even if they have lessons in English, the number of lessons, English medium lessons, are not that many. And in the first year, they may not be aware of the importance of English that much. That's why second year students. And in their third year, their concerns are much more different, I think. They're going to graduate next year and things change. And they get far from prep school education. That's why we chose second year.
Not really a question, but just something that we, even in our group, we should also discuss about new students to ask. And one thing we thought was also maybe looking at some students who've actually graduated and were in the world of work, asking them, looking back after all that time to get another perspective. And I had another separate point I did that, and you mentioned observations. I think that's what I feel like maybe people are not exploiting, actually just going in and looking at what's happening in faculties. I mean, questionnaires and interviews and things, it's all sort of second hand, but I've done something where I've been attending regularly every week. I attend a science
Wait
class.
for our group's presentation. You will
But yeah, that's actually just seeing with your own eyes what's happening is a real eye opener. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, one more question. Sorry, we missed that. Sorry.
I was going to ask if you guys have considered gathering data from possible future employers.
We have not taken about because, we are talking about the EAP situation here, academic purposes. There comes the occupational purposes, and sometimes they may not be similar. So we have to focus on one of them. We cannot focus on ESP and EOP at the same time, That's why we didn't discuss. What do you think?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have an unwanted guest in the room. Böcek yerleştirmişler bizi bilmiyorlar diye. Ve şu an şu geldi.
What is this?
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I was thinking about the final step of this process, which is implementation. Perhaps it's the point where we are able to gather the fruits of our labor. But I think that's probably not really the case, and based on some of the comments that were taking place in this room, it's probably a time where we start a longitudinal process where I really like the suggestion going back and finding some of the students who have graduated and entered the workforce and seeing if that has actually worked. So these are some of the key words that emerged in our discussions. I'm not going to go over them because I feel like it would be a huge overlap, but there are definitely some things that we will concentrate in more detail. So this is the basic outline of my speech today and our findings as a group. We've borrowed some ideas from the Brown article which was shared and discussed. First of all, we're going to talk about analysing the results. It's actually quite a daunting process because it's probably the stage that makes us feel quite overwhelmed where we have this huge amount of volume of feedback and what do we do with it. So we're going to look at how we can approach that, and then we're going to talk about how we can share the findings in the reports with the stakeholders. So how we're going to get everyone involved. Who are the stakeholders? Who has a prerogative to accessing this information? Establishing teachers' willingness. Obviously, teachers are an integral part of this process. Having them willing and actively on board is going to make our job much easier, how we're going to manage that. And I think 3 and 4 are quite related because you're also going to talk about flexible curriculum versus prescriptive curriculum. At the end of the analysis of our results, should we have objectives that are set in stone, or should we allow for some flexibility? So should it be prescriptive or descriptive? And we can talk about that altogether. So first of all, analysing results. I mean, this is going to be a slight overlap, but we found that we can really avoid this topic because interpretation, dependability, credibility, and transferability all comes back to how we gather the information. So we obviously come with some preconceptions when we're analysing data. We have inherent biases. We might have statistically non-viable data in terms of some of my colleagues in our group shared anecdotes where they were handing out these surveys and the students decided to approach them as works of arts and thought that if they answered it in a particular way it would be prettier. So that has no viability obviously, so when we collect this, how do we disregard this information? That's another issue that we need to bear in mind. In addition to that, we thought, what if there's discrepancies? Like students quite fond of a book, teachers absolutely despise. So what do we do at times like that? Do we disregard that information? Some of the solutions we came up was going back to the drawing board and discussing that, why is there this discrepancy, and trying to maybe figure out why students like that. And who has the prerogative at the end of the day? If someone's benefiting, if the students are benefiting from it, does that have any substance? In addition, we also talked about minority views. So if we have data, this data holds some very salient results, should we disregard the minority view? Does that have any substance to it? Again, these are some of the things we'll be talking about. Yeah. And stakeholders, reaching decisions, who and how. So we thought the best way to probably do this is for those institutions that have curriculum teams, to get them involved in the initial stage, for them to eliminate the possibilities that aren't feasible. Once that's done, we thought that it should be shared with the stakeholders, and then in turn the management, before being incorporated into the curriculum. And the way we could share this data was, we came up with the following ideas. It would probably be as a meeting, whole staff meeting, maybe getting the students involved, class representatives. If we have a huge student body, it's probably not feasible, but maybe class representatives and those who volunteer to be there. And then sharing that with the management and then incorporating into curriculum. Again, this was the order we thought was most appropriate, but we've also come across another model which we taken from the AT's adult curriculum framework. And to the greater extent, it follows what we've spoken about, except in these last 2 points where it says integrate results into the curriculum and then communicate with the stakeholders. We thought that wasn't very appropriate, considering that if it was, let's go based on an example like introducing a new textbook, we thought it's quite important that the teachers have a say in that before setting it into curriculum, which makes it more rigid in a way. Okay, so we came up with this flowchart, and we thought the first step in incorporating it into curriculum, now that we've shared the results with everyone, hopefully eliminated any of the statistically non-viable data. So we thought we need to write some objectives and also decide on the exit level. So our students going through this program, by the time they're ready to start their departments, what level of proficiency we aim for them to achieve. Once we've done that, we thought we should be choosing appropriate materials. Now, we actually had some great brainstorming in our sessions, and we had some really practical examples that we thought we should share with you, only because maybe if I to incorporate them at your own institutions and something pragmatic to take back. When it comes to choosing appropriate materials, I'm going to go based on the example of we did a needs analysis based on the textbook, we're not very happy with it, and now we've decided that it needs to be changed. So what about colleague was saying that at her institution, she organized a room where she spread out all the textbooks and put together a checklist. And she also mentioned that there's many available online, and obviously you can amend that to your own particular needs. And she spread out all the textbooks. Again, similar to the method we spoke earlier, the curriculum team first eliminates any non-feasible options, and then she spread out all these textbooks, and she made sure that every teacher got a chance to come in and fill in that checklist based on the books that the school was considering to use in their program. And she made it so that the teachers weren't given a strict time when they had to come, but throughout the week it was flexible, no pressure on them, so they could take their time to run through the books and pages. So that's one option. Secondly, we talked about training and guidance. We actually had quite a discussion about should we include the word training and should we include the word guidance, and then based on the examples we came up with, we agreed that they were both necessary, and I can exemplify that with another example for you. In terms of guidance, once we set our objectives, it might be that when these objectives are presented to the staff, they might have a look through the textbook and say, well, these objectives and the course itself doesn't seem like they're going to work. So if we have the curriculum team on board here, where they've actually also analysed the textbook and came up with some ideas on how we can fulfil those objectives, that way they can offer guidance to the teachers. Well, you could explore the text this way, or you could interpret the text this way, and that way you're ticking off those objectives. So we consider that to be a form of guidance. But then we have the examples of, for example, including changing our system from textbooks to e-books, or deciding that our institute will now use online learning software. In that instance, it's probably training where someone has to get involved to show us how we can fulfill our objectives. And then comes the piloting stage, which at most institutes can be tricky a part of the process. In addition to the most obvious way of doing this, there was again another suggestion from one of my colleagues, which was called the study lesson plan. For those who are familiar with it, you will already know that it actually originated in Japan. And the way it works is we have ideally 3 teachers, but at the minimum 2. And they prepare a lesson plan together. And then they go back into the class with 3 students. And the way these 3 students should be is one should be a weak student, medium achiever, and high achiever. And then when the teacher is executing the lesson, the other 2 teachers should be observing her. And after the lesson is over, there could be an interview with the students based on how they think the lesson carried through. And also the teachers get back together, and then they're able to go back to the lesson plan and then any problems that arose in the class. And then the second teacher, who was the observer in the first lesson, comes back with 3 new students who happen to be weak, medium, and high achievers, and reteaches the lesson. But the lesson plan, remember, has been amended. And then again, after the lesson's over, teachers get together, students get interviews, and more feedback is collected. Again, the lesson is fine-tuned, hopefully, and it's taught for a 3rd time. Now, after this, ideally, I mean, we would never say it's perfect, but we probably have the best version of that lesson. And if we're using this as a pilot, if we go back to our example of changing our textbooks, if we're using this to actually pilot that textbook, this would be a great method for us to eliminate some of the variables. So was it the students? Was it the teachers? Was it the textbook? What was it? I think it gives us a lot of opportunity to be able to eliminate all the variables and to decide, yes, it was the textbook that was a problem, or yes, this is the textbook we should go ahead with. So I think that's a really innovative way of hopefully piloting something. And finally, we have reflections and giving feedback, which is quite self-explanatory. Therefore, maybe before I'm using this term quite loosely, not set in stone if it's in curriculum, there's always room for adjustment, but before it probably gets into the curriculum, we want to make sure that everyone's, we're back to the drawing board perhaps, and we're discussing our opinions on it. And another thing we thought was quite important is if we piloted, and I'm going based on the example of the textbook, of course we can pilot a number of things. If we pilot this textbook and we happen to not be very happy with the results and the feedback we're getting back, should it be changed the following year? We think it deserves at least about 2 years in terms of putting it into practice. That was the consensus we kind of reached. Obviously it's open for discussion. And finally, how to balance the three different types of English we offer: general, academic, and ESP. Again, there are some really good examples out there. Some of the institutions in Turkey are offering, and for me personally, this has been one of the highlights of this seminar. I'm going to be able to go back with some very tangible, concrete examples that I can share with my faculty. So we try to do the same for you and share some of these things that work. We obviously start with general English, and that's because we can't give anyone or A2 student academic English. Bearing in mind that the ideal goal, considering these people are going to, our students are going to go through tertiary education, the ideal goal is to use academic English. It stands to reason to start introducing academic English at a level when they're probably intermediate or upper intermediate. So in writing lessons, maybe offering alternative academic elements of general English words. So incorporating that at higher levels for academic English. In terms of ESP, there are three examples we want to share. One of these examples actually exists at Pamukkale University, and it's not organised by the prep faculty itself, but rather by the department, and I think that's able to happen that way because they share a campus, and I know with some institutions the prep school is separate. But the professors from their respective departments come in and teach them a lesson once a week, and all the students are streamed into their departments. So it gives them an opportunity to see that language in practice and probably makes it more concrete for them that this is quite necessary for them, which often they can't make that link at prep school. Sometimes they don't want to be here, and we deal with motivation problems a lot, so that definitely helps. Another example is one Linda has shared with me at Xiii University, and I know Jonathan's from there, so he probably has a lot more details. I'm just going to explain it in a nutshell. But the prep school organises this one, and it involves the school setting a writing task, and the students have to go out to their departments, listen to one of the lectures of their future lecturers. And they have a task they need to complete. It involves note-taking and also, I think, some form of reflective writing. Again, and finally, we had another example of ESP. It's the prep schools, and that was during orientation week. Professors coming out and speaking to the students about their expectations. Again, it's probably going to help them to hear this at the beginning of the year, just so they know what they're aiming for. So these are all some practical ideas that we can probably implement, hopefully, and that way we can strike a balance between these three types of English as we refer to. And finally, I think it's
Finished.
Friday the 30th.
Thank you. We don't have any slides. We want to do it in person. No, ESP. That was the last one.
We have a cartoon.
Cartoon. I forgot about it. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I mean, we have this study, we wanted to include it in the end, not to discourage anyone.
Yeah.
But obviously we have our work cut out for us. It's quite a huge and daunting task. That's what I feel. I don't know if anyone shares my sentiments on this issue, but it's a daunting task. We're going to have, anyone who's gone through a master's knows what data correction is like, and the point where you confront it and think, what am I going to do with all of this? But these guidelines, hopefully, and I know theory and practice is quite different, but hopefully these guidelines will give us some scaffolding, some structure in implementing this program. So hopefully it won't be as daunting. Thank you for all the organisers.
So you should get together for a couple of minutes for reflection.
Yeah, Martha was like, she's so good. She's really good.
Because the whole time I was like, someone else is
She kept talking to me like, she's doing a good job. I know. Your work is amazing. Şey gibi hissettim. Böyle BBC radio dinliyor gibi hissettim. Valla.
I feel more nervous now.
Yeah, the adrenaline rush is kind of like, I mean,
I won't be able to say anything about that.
Because I was put on the spot like one of my friends. It's not me.
Oh, she's a friend, huh?
Well, we're friends. We spent 2 days together. I'm in love with kids.
Oh, yeah, she told me that. I can see it. She told me that. When Martha was calling, I said, okay, you do Martha was like, well, and I said, and she said, well, I think she'll do a good job.
No, you did a great job.
Let's just start doing